Here we go, lead core rod's got one.
Good old shorty, huh?
Yeah. They're kind of fun to steer a big fish with. I'm just gonna coast here and
let me know if you want the net.
Yeah, I think we'll use the net. There we go, nice. There. Yeah. Gorgeous fish. That is a beauty. I'll get her in the water here. You know, orientation can be a big deal, especially when you're fishing reservoirs, especially when you're trolling crankbaits, but this can influence a lot of presentations. What I mean by orientation is so often there's a lot more current coming through these systems than what we can ever imagine, because you don't see it necessarily on the surface, but you can feel it with your boat. And you'll see situations where if you go one direction, you can just mark all kinds of fish and just not get bit, turn around and go the other direction and get bit. That's really common, and just the way the current pulses and comes by, sometimes these fish will line up a certain way where the fish are facing a certain direction. You need to pull your baits a certain direction. And so that's really common, and probably the biggest thing is sometimes you can actually feel it on the boat. If you're using your trolling motor to pull cranks, you know, one thing I like to do is just use the setting, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 power versus setting a ground speed. So that way I can feel the current pick up, in the sense that, say if you have your trolling motor on 5 and you're going at 1.6 miles an hour, say you're pulling a bottom bouncer in a spinner, and all of a sudden you look down at your GPS and you have it, you know, you're still on 5, but now you're down to a mile an hour, you know, you're in current. And you can also feel it on your motor, you know, and so use your, you know, the power of your propulsion with your ground speed to read those pulses and current. And sometimes it'll shift and change through the day. Sometimes it'll pick up and rip for an hour or two, then it'll settle back down. But that'll affect how these fish line up. The other thing is, when you're trolling downstream, especially if you're using lead core, a lot of times you don't need as much line, okay, but you also have to go faster to get the baits to vibrate. Say if you have a 3 mile an hour current and you're trolling at 2 miles an hour, those crankbaits look really bad going downstream. They don't even hardly wobble. Whereas when you turn around and go upstream, you know, you have a lot more resistance, so those baits look a lot better, feel better, and catch more fish. So it's definitely something to monitor when you're trolling, is watch that current. You know, you don't see it, but you can feel it. There's different indications, and it really can make a big difference in your fishing. There's so many times you'll catch fish going one way and you can hardly buy a fish going back the other way. And so like on this pass here, we got to the end, instead of coming back down, we just ran around and started and coming right back up the same direction, but it can make a big difference.